Like that. Okay, everybody tune and
Oh, I went too high. I jumped a couple octaves too quickly.
You're listening to the Janchi Show, hosted by 3 Korean American adoptees diving headfirst into what it means to be adopted, Korean American, and more. And now, here's your hosts, Nathan, Patrick, and KJ.
Welcome back to the Janchi Show. It's your boys, KJ, Nathan, and Patrick, with another episode of your favorite Korean adoptee podcast. Fellas, how you doing?
Woo!
I'm doing woo.
Just dandy.
Nice.
What were you just celebrating?
What?
When?
Oh, you were doing the woo literally for his. I thought you were doing it to the message that you just received.
No, I was turning my watch to silent so it wouldn't beep, actually.
Oh.
I don't
that makes sense.
I don't want to be that guy.
You don't?
We appreciate it.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
You're welcome.
We can just see when your eyes divert down to your watch. It's not distracting. I'm doing great. I'm doing fine.
You doing?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah. I think fine is an accurate description.
You started high and then you backed down. So I wanted to give you a chance that you go further back down the ladder if you needed to.
I fluctuated a little bit, but no, I think fine is good.
He's going through his to-do list. What do I have to do?
Yeah, I was like, did I get everything done? I know I got a couple things on there I need to do still, but it's fine.
Sure.
How is your time management that you were dealing with? Is that come to a nice median?
Yeah, I think I have found a pretty nice median. I've come to a good spot with it. I'm in a good spot with it, I think. Still working on it a little bit. I think it's obviously an ongoing practice, but yeah, I feel I'm in a better headspace with time management for sure. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. And you, KJ, I know you have a lot of things coming up on your plate, but
I do have a lot of things coming up on my plate, and I don't know. Today has been a weird day. I have struggled with motivation, and it's like one of those things where I have just enough to do that I don't want to do any of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not so many things that I'm just like stress powering through my whole to-do list. I'm just like, man, I don't it's a lot of things, but I don't have to do any of them. So I don't know. It's been a weird day. I've kind of felt like this all week. So
isn't that funny how that works? Like if you have just enough to do, sometimes you don't do it. But if you have maybe the right amount, you do it. But then if you have way too much, you go back again and you don't want to do anything else too. At least that's how I am. I don't know.
I don't know that I ever have so many things that I'm like, I don't want to do them. I have gotten to the place where I have so many things that I just basically spin around in circles in my apartment. And I'm like, I don't know where to start. 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 Yeah, my brain is just too overloaded. So that's the worst feeling.
Is it all professionally related? Is it personal? Is it both? What is just enough to not want to do any of it? It
is professional and personal with kind of distant timelines. It's just the right confluence of I've got some things for work, but they don't have, nothing is urgent or pressing, so it's just it's off a bit. So
the borderline of procrastination.
Yeah. But also it's a weird time because Sarah just started going back into the office, and she had an event that had her out of the house all day Monday, and then she was in the office Tuesday, and then in the office again Thursday, and 3 days on my own. I'm like, I don't know. It threw off my rhythms, because we have this thing where we eat lunch together and then we go walk in circles around our apartment complex and whatever. But so we do all these things, and I'm just like, I don't know how to be on my own like I used to. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird rhythm, but that's where I'm at.
No, I totally get that, because I think when Emily and I first started dating, and then when we moved to Chicago, we were together a lot. And then we had to then we found that rhythm of us going to our separate jobs and then coming back and being at home at the same times, and then trying to relish the times off that we had together. But then when the pandemic happened, like you said, all we did was spend time together. And I think when we came back to Indy and she finally started to get back in the classroom, it was And then I started this job where our days off were out of sync because I work on the weekends. She's off on the weekends.
Right.
Like it really threw off the rhythm because we went from spending all of our time together to really none of it together because we really barely cross paths in the morning. And then at night, we each usually has something to do. She maybe has an after school thing. I've got either the podcast or I play basketball. I've got a ton of stuff. Maybe I could divest from some things.
Would you say basketball is your favorite sport?
Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way I dribble up and down the court.
Nice.
Yeah, got it.
He keeps it so fresh on the microphone. He like no interruption when the game is on.
That was the only lyric I know.
That's all right. I know the whole song. It's
I know.
wild.
Even though it's an important movie in my life.
Is it really? Wait. Is it really an important movie in your life?
We literally just talked about this last episode.
We did not.
Always Be My Baby.
Oh.
Yes,
No.
we did.
No,
we
that's
did.
a totally different song.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, you're thinking Bounce Back.
Oh my God, I was. Cut this.
I'm
Cut this.
I'm quoting the movie
I know what you're
Like
talking
Mike
about.
from the early 2000s.
I know what you're talking about now.
With
Yeah.
Lil Bow Wow.
It's funny because we just watched this movie within the last year.
Like
so
Mike?
I can say that. Yeah, like Mike. I don't know why. We were watching just old movies. We went through like a 90s movie thing. Or was that a 2000s movie?
That's a 2000s movie.
2000s movie.
With an adoption story in it.
Yeah,
actually.
I know. I was just
remembered.
like, every old movie that I watch now, it's like there's a constant there. And I think I just was so oblivious. I just didn't really notice it. as a kid.
I definitely
see it.
noticed it, but yeah, I was just like,
Or it didn't register in my mind that
Yeah.
I was like, that's also me. Or could have been me.
yeah,
Like
and then
in
they
that
were,
sense.
talked about like kids who are up for adoption being basically like puppies, and I was like, I think at the time I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that, but also I was adopted as a baby, so like,
Right.
I don't know that a baby is aware that it's a baby and like thinks about adoption and like
Well, yeah,
cuteness being a whatever.
And
It's
in
a
that
whole-
movie, they're literally like the main goal is not for Lil Bow Wow's character to be good at basketball.
yeah,
it is to be
spoilers for Like
adoptable.
Mike, this movie that came
was-
out 20 years ago.
Yeah, it is the whole goal. The whole goal of these kids is to be adoptable and to get adopted by somebody who comes into the foster home. Is it? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure what's going on, but it's like, as a kid, I wasn't thinking about like, man, that's messed up. And then when I watched it, I was like, that is like, I've never thought like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Nathan, that's basically the whole show. There's
Great.
There's some
now I
things-
don't have to watch the movie. Thanks.
Yeah, there's some things where
Oh, wait, were you
Bow
spoiler
Wow
alerts?
gets
Yeah, that was
gets
too much.
Michael
Sorry.
Jordan.
I think
type
we're over
skills.
the time frame
So,
though. We're
the
fine.
statute
Yeah, I was going to say
of
the
limitations.
statute of limitations.
Good.
20 years. That's a little bit too long.
Yeah,
That's fine.
It's fine.
So yeah, I don't know, but that's funny because that actually like kind of leads into where my headspace has been at recently. So because Sarah wasn't here, I went on a very long walk in a slightly different circle through the concrete jungle in which I live, and I was listening to the book that I'm reading, which is So You Sound Like a White Girl. No, sorry. It's You Sound Like a White Girl, The Case Against Assimilation by Yulisa Arce, who she is a Mexican-American author and recently gained her citizenship, but spent like most of her time in America as an undocumented person in America, which is like, her story is wild. So definitely go check her out. But this book is just interesting because like part of it, like because she grew up in Texas for parts of her life and whatever, and like obviously like Mexico and America have just such an entangled history. I was really challenged to think about Texan history and like just do the one step further with my logic. And like I was like, oh man, we have a really terrible history. And like I know obviously like we do, but like just like having it retconned like that is like, or not even retcon, but just like having the full truth
Right.
spoken to me like that just made me really angry about all the things that like I wasn't told, and like all the ways that history was whitewashed and stuff. And yes, I'm listening to this book, and then she talks about how like in this part that I'm in, like talking about like losing our mother tongue and like the lie of English and whatever. And it's like, it's this whole thing where being transracially adopted, I'm like unassimilating, having already been assimilated, but then like I've got like these layers of privilege and whatever. And then I like, because of our conversation last week with Bruno, I was thinking about Little Mermaid and just how like all Disney movies went, like animated Disney movies when I was growing up, had something to do with family and had something to do with like wanting to belong or, be part of that world, or having gotten kicked out by this other world. And so I want to be accepted by you know what I mean? Like it's all like just so much in there. And then like, so I just finished reading Heavy by Kiese Lehman, and I can never say his name right. Like, I don't know. My brain just like shuts down. Kiese Lehman. And so that like, he just writes so beautifully. And I was like, man, I wish that I could speak about myself this way and speak about our experience, right? Like his mom, he says in the book, is like, when you write, you should write for us, right? Like for our people. And I was like, I wish that we could, I wish that I could do more for us, our transracial adoptee CAD, our, whatever community. Right. And so I've just been having all these things float in my head. And I guess I'm really, if I had to put it into words, as I'm doing on the fly right now, so sorry, it's probably not great podcasting, but like, where have you experienced content that is quote for us? And maybe it's not even like really for us, but like, I don't know, speak on those things. That is all. Like, I cede the microphone now.
Well, I feel like there are right now a lot of people creating content that I think is for us. I think that it is, I think a lot of us are sharing from a very individual perspective, sharing our own stories, which is great. So I think it's a little bit different in the sense that while it's for the community and that's why we're sharing it publicly, it's also really for ourselves, because it's like we're trying to get that out and trying to just unpack that. I wonder, so I would say like Cameron Lee Small, that at Therapy Redeemed, I think that he is creating content. He's creating things that are for us, for our community. I think that Hannah Jackson Matthews is another person that is doing that specifically for Black transracial adoptees, but for the entire adoptee community and for adoptive parents. I think another person who I follow that's definitely doing that, that's creating, I think, content that's for us, for the community, is, her name is Tori, and she's at Wreckage and Wonder, and I'm really blanking on her last name right now. I apologize, Tori, if you listen to our podcast. But she really does create a lot of incredible things, I think, that are based in our community. And I would say that specific, I don't know, I will caveat and say this is all like, these are people who are doing things actively on Instagram, but are creating content and creating things that are outside of that space, outside of the social media space,
Good for them.
as like educators or as like mental health professionals or social workers, which I think is really important. Like you're taking in Ulyss's book and taking in things like The Making of Asian America, taking content in that's not just 10 slides of something. So I think that is what I'm looking at. And that's, I guess, those are just three people I think off the top of my head I can think of that, in my opinion, would be creating things for us, because it's like workshops for transracial adoptee teens. And they target different parts of our community to allow for a greater opportunity to unpack, I guess, all of the stuff that we're doing now as 30-year-old men. And yeah, because we're all 30.
How dare you call me 30? How?
We're all 30.
Dare.
I was done speaking. Oh my gosh. I think I could hear me in that laugh track, actually.
That's a good laugh track.
That's the one I recorded for. I forgot.
Yeah, you'll probably never use that for my dad jokes.
So. No, I'll use this one.
Oh, he wanted you to use it right there.
Yeah, I was going to say that's my dad joke. Okay.
All right, then you got to follow that up by the studio audience laughter.
Nah.
So, I mean, I agree. I think there's a lot of really good individual content people on social media, but for me, since I was never been very active in the social media platform until I would say last year, the stuff that I had always considered for me to be for me, I guess, was some of these conferences that are happening around the country. So, specifically, of course, Con is coming up, and I know we talk about that a lot. It'll be here in Denver in June. But then, I mean, just the other conference.
That's a free plug for Con.
Con. Yeah, there you go.
We're not saying not go.
Honestly, if you type in Korean Adoption Conference, Con is actually the first one that pops up on Google. But I know there's others. I mean, just the camps, the heritage camps, the
Camp Sejong.
Yeah, the ones that are actually probably sponsored by adoption agencies. I can't speak of those because I've never been to them, but I would be very curious to give them a try. But hearing about these spaces to congregate, to meet other adoptees, I think is something that I look forward to doing now. Something that I never expected to to desire as much as I have over the last few years. And it's kind of funny because you're coming out of a pandemic and you're thinking about just, your friends and, family and things like that. But at the same time, I'm adding this additional now social circle that I want to hang out with and that I want to meet more adoptees and more, local Korean, even Korean Americans or, Japanese Americans, just, any AAPI people. So actually, Allison and I had this talk about it yesterday about how we're going to raise our kids and what kind of space and things that we're going to be doing. So we were discussing, are we going to do a lot of Korean, a lot of Japanese, some Chinese or broadly Asian American or, things like that. So it's going to be an interesting, did Patrick freeze or is he?
What? I'm listening. I was just doing background research.
I was like, I think you froze or something, but no. So yeah, that's what I'm interested in doing as far as I feel is a space for me and for other adoptees. So I'm looking forward to giving my opinion after my first conference this June.
Woo!
Well, I think that anybody creating community, I think that we're creating content that's for us, because I think this show it's for us, again, coming from slightly individual perspectives of just us as the three doing this to unpack our own stories, but really the content lives for the community and for whoever needs to hear it. Yeah. I mean, we all carry bias.
No, so, you're right. Podcasts,
like Adopted Feels, Adapted. I know we don't talk about other people's podcasts on our podcast, but I will mention them.
I will say we did just get
Adoptees on.
We did just get shouted out as a Korean American podcast you should listen to, which was
I saw that.
Really incredible, and that was really fantastic. So you can go check that out on our Instagram. That was just really awesome. So thank you to Corey Angry and KAA Collective on Instagram because they are doing a partnership. So it's a Korean American artist collective, and Corey Angry, that account took over it and whatever, and gave a shout out to Korean American podcasts, and we were there as well as Dear Asian Americans, which is awesome, and then a bunch of other podcasts which I can't really wait to go and check out and listen to them. One of them's called Bulgogi Pod, and I'm like, okay, interested. It seems cute. So yeah,
that was really cool. I was like, go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was just saying, as far as community, we still have our maybe year 2 Janchi live in LA. So. I know we haven't released much details, but if you guys are
not for our community though.
Just keep it's our community. What are you talking about?
I'm just kidding.
That was a great joke.
It was too late. You got to move that up in the
remove that track.
Leave it in.
This is the reason I have the soundboard is so I can be live and I have to do even less work.
That makes sense.
Yeah, sure. It's where we're at. I don't know. I just was like, the other thing that kind of spurred this was instead of playing video games in the morning, I have been watching stand up. I don't know why. So I watched Ronnie Chang's latest
don't talk
thing. Yeah. No. I'm just saying it's good. I liked it a lot better than his first one. But I was just like, this is good, and it shot gorgeously and whatever. And then I watched Jim Gaffigan's latest thing, and I was like I used to love Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah, I
and
heard it. I was listening to it today.
yeah, and then I watched this, and I was like, this is so boring. And I think for me, it's like Jim Gaffigan just like has a brand. This is his style of joke. I'm gonna
Right.
stay in my lane, do this thing, right?
Yeah.
And there were moments where I laughed, but also like the bias of Jim Gaffigan. I was like, oh, this is just a normal Midwestern cishet white dude who is Catholic making jokes about normal cishet white guy
overweight
stuff.
people.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I was like,
a
man, this is
one-track
so
stuff.
well.
Well, he stays in his lane very much in that one.
But I remember, 10 years ago when I was listening to King Baby and Beyond the Pale and like all of his other things, I was like, oh my God, Jim Gaffigan, he's so funny and whatever. And I bet if I went back and listened to that, I'd just be like, oh, it's just a white guy talking about being a white guy.
Right.
And it made me realize like how bored I am of that content.
Right.
And how but that's all new to me. Like
Same.
listening to Heavy, listening to You Sound Like a White Girl, listening to The Making
Ali
of Asian
Wong.
America, and like there are just so many
funny.
more like voices now that I really care to hear about, and I've never thought about like our people as significantly as I am lately, of like being a part of the Asian American diaspora and all those things. I'm just like, oh, this is nice, and it's so I'm just like, but there's still kind of that added thing of like, but what about adoptees and our voices even within that, like just because, we've arrived at one spot doesn't mean we shouldn't keep pushing. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I mean like kind of in terms of mass appeal, there's not like a thing yet for us, by us, etc. But yeah, I don't know.
I think they're all I think there are things floating around there, and I think, but you're right. I think overarching, and I've had this conversation with a few different people about. There's not really that one thing that you look at and it's like, this is the adoptee community's thing. Like this represents that. But I've definitely been feeling similar to you, not only as an Asian American, but just as like a person of color and like having that same revelation that I am like sick and tired of and bored, I guess, of hearing a white person talk about white people problems and just like talk about that experience. And like, because, and it feels so new and it's like, I just don't have time for that. Like I'm making up so much time and like, I have so much to learn, so much to unlearn, but so much to learn. And it's just like, it does feel like it's just very boring to sit in and not to say invalidate anybody's experience. And say like whatever it is that you're telling me is boring, but from like a media perspective, like whatever,
from like a content storytelling perspective,
like what I'm reading or what I'm watching or what I'm listening to.
Yeah,
like I only want to hear stories that are wildly different than that, and I think the other part of that too is because instead of like growing up, instead of going and gravitating towards like authors or anybody of color in any situation, I really gravitated towards fiction, and like I was really drawn to like comics and things like that. And while there was different like representations, I was reading all of that through a lens that was like boxed in by whiteness. And so I never really understood, like, I never read those for representation or any of those aspects. I just read it almost like as a white person probably would. And now I've been going back and revisiting some comics and thinking about it differently. And it's just really striking how the messaging comes across and how much I notice is missing from the stories. And I think that's the question that I've been asking myself a lot lately. In terms of the content that I take in, is what's missing or who's missing, not specifically what, but who is missing out of here.
Yeah.
And so all of that to say, totally get where you're coming from, because I feel like I've been in that same spot.
I really have been fascinated and proud too when I see the representation that's happening in the media and the changes that have been happening with just like hiring actors or awards being given or just shout outs to certain things. So
also like all of Pachinko.
Yeah, right. I mean, every time I see something online, and I mean, granted, there are some negative ones, and you see these like not really, I wouldn't say controversy, but like people start talking bad about Turning Red, and
Oh, that
and
guy
just
saying, yeah.
yeah,
There was
and
like some
I just
reviewer. Yeah.
right, and it's just those things. I was like, it's okay. We can ignore some of those things. I think in a whole, the content, all these new stories and storylines, and Michelle Yeoh being in her multiverse movie, and
That movie looks sweet.
it looks really good, right? I mean, those are really. I just love it when I see all that. So, and I don't know if it's just because I'm excited to feel a little more connected to the movie, or to just watch it because it sounds like a good theme, or maybe I would have been just as excited before, but I don't know, maybe I feel like it's just this new awakening in me that wants to watch these even more now. So
Yeah. I feel like another thing that's been affecting me too is that, so like right now I'm reading The Making of Asian America by Erica Lee, and you mentioned, KJ, earlier about thinking about like Texas history and thinking about, oh gosh, that's not great. And I feel like, and I've really been getting it out of this book. But I think what's primed me for it is I read the two books I read previously. Well, okay. So I read All About Love by Bell Hooks before this, but before that, I read An Indigenous People's History of the United States of America, and then I read How the Word Was Passed, or How the Word Is Passed by Clint Smith. And so, and that book is about how we talk about slavery in this country and how we got to the point of how we talk about it through different locations where this is taking place, where slavery was very prominent, like Monticello, the Jefferson Plantation, like Goree Island, which is like the first place where slaves or the enslaved Africans would board the ship to come to America. But I think it primed me for this one, and to really just be pushing me into like understanding and learning this history, because when I'm reading about the treatment of Asian people by the people who founded this country, who enslaved Africans, who displaced the indigenous and First Nations people, and read about how they were like, we need laborers who aren't slaves, so we're going to bring over Asian people, but we're definitely not going to treat them the same. And then it's like, nope, we hate them now because they are forming communities. They're talking in their own language. We don't want that. And then, but it's like, so we do it to the Chinese, and then it's the Japanese, and then it's the Koreans, and then it's the South Asians. And then it's just like, and it just goes on and on and on. And the way that when they move from ignorant tolerance to outright hatred and xenophobia, all I've been thinking about is like how similar the rhetoric that they used then is what is being used now, like to scapegoat Asians for like the pandemic specifically, or what we see being talked about by people who dismiss like the ongoing violence, things that are going on like that. And it's the exact same things that they were saying in the past. And I think that, again, I talked about this on an episode, but it's just like, if we can't hold ourselves accountable as a country, and we can't look and talk about our history in a way that actually acknowledges the atrocities that were committed by the people that founded this place, then we can't really like actually move forward. Like, because we're not in a better place than we were a year ago after Atlanta or anything like that. We're in a different place, but we're not in a better place because we aren't willing. There are a number of us unwilling to take a look at ourselves in that way. And it's just like, I don't know. And it's just like, that has been really fueling this. I'm so sick and tired of the white experience and that whitewashing of everything that I've ever known or been taught. And like that veil is being pulled from my eyes. And it's just like, what happened? Why have I missed this? Why did I miss this? And then and then again, to circle all the way back, how do I, as a transracial adoptee, fit into that equation? Because I'm like, I grew up in a white community with white parents and white friends and did all the white stuff, but I'm not white. But I didn't learn any of that history, any of my own history. So like, how do I find myself in this place? And so I'm feeling better about it. I'm feeling angry, I think, fired up, if you couldn't tell.
Well, I'm definitely more angry. Yeah, for sure.
But it's just like it's just those are the things that I've been thinking about too. It's just like, and again, it's a lot about confronting my own insecurities, my own biases and prejudices when I go on the long walks or in sitting in my own space by myself with my thoughts, thinking about that, digging in and questioning myself, which then allows me to be able to start questioning the things around me. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
No, it's a lot. And it reminded me, too, like that book, I remember like specifically as they talk about migrant workers coming into Hawaii even.
Yeah.
And then Jim Gaffigan in this latest special has jokes about Hawaii. And I'm just like,
oh, yeah.
Bro, even the way that you talk about this just falls so short and so flat and so like trying to be like, quote, safely woke or, whatever. I'm just like, man, this is not good. It's not the same. And so, yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot.
I think it just shows that we're evolving, that we are stepping into a better place, even though it's a place of discomfort now. It's for us to be able to grow as people and yeah.
Hopefully with the discomfort comes change, right? I mean,
right, exactly.
Instead of ignoring it and we're pushing it under the rug.
And I also don't want to say that, especially how the word is passed in Indigenous people's history of the United States, and even Making of Asian America, only talk about the terrible things that happened. Like, you're always going to be able to highlight the triumphs, because within the horrors that are going on, all of these groups of people that are being marginalized are succeeding, finding ways to succeed in spite of what is happening. And, that gives me a lot of hope, especially as an adoptee, because it seems like we're at both points lifted up as like the best of both worlds, but also given the shortest ends of both sticks. And so it's like, it feels like like two mountains that you have to climb instead of one. But I think seeing and reading about just people's overcoming gives me hope as a community that we will find our place of overcoming and we will reach it at some point. I just wish it was happening sooner rather than later.
Well, and I think like it's so important, like now that I fully accept myself as Asian American, I think of it as my history.
Right.
And so like, obviously this is not my great uncle or my great great grandfather or my grandfather, even that these things are happening to. But being a part of Asian America means that like it was my grandfather that this happened to, and it was my great grandfather, grandmother, whomever. Like that there is skin in the game. And now after the past 2 years, I have met so many wonderful, incredible Asian Americans that I really care, and I have like celebrated things with them, and I have gone through tragedy with them. And so like now, like reading those things, I'm like, oh yeah, this like it hits different, and I think that's why for our show we always want to provide something that people can celebrate and provide spaces for people to fall in love with us, because like if you read history and you read tragedy but you have no skin in the game, then the most you can say is like, oh, that's sad, unless you're like a really empathetic person. But I mean, like for me, I'm basically a robot, so when I hear about a sad thing, I'm like, oh, that's sad, and then I move on with my life, and that's our own privilege of time and space and whatever that is, but like when people, then you're like, and you care about them and you have celebrated with them, and you're like, oh man, that really sucks. And it affects me in a way that I potentially want to look internally, in a way that I potentially want to get involved and provide support. Even if that support is just like sending the prayer up to your deity of choice, or send them vibes across the universe, particular universal waves that you subscribe to, whatever that is. Like, yeah, it's just like even the smallest thing like that, those all count as wins, and those are all important in moving the needle forward, even while we push for greater systemic change, greater systemic acceptance and love and equality and justice and all those things. So
yeah, I think I mentioned to you guys once before about this, but there was a riot in Denver, the Chinese riot, and it was in Chinatown in 1880, and the mayor is actually apologizing coming up actually next weekend, the 16th. He's apologizing to the Chinese immigrants for the death and the riots, and I think that's amazing that they're hosting this event downtown, and they're trying to kind of bring more unity. And so yeah, I'm seeing a little bit more and more of that happen. In some, I guess, some political arenas and stuff. So that gives me some hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Some is better than none.
Yep.
And none is
Some
not
is
all.
better. Exactly.
So, yeah. Do you want to do a voicemail?
Ooh.
Yeah, let's do a
listen to a
voicemail.
voicemail,
All
because I
right.
think we got
New
it, right?
segment, the
Yeah,
voicemail.
I'm gonna let's
I
take
feel like
a
we
break.
need a jingle before this.
All right.
Hi, Sarah.
Here we go.
The voicemail.
Voicemail time.
That's the jingle, but live.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So here is the voicemail. I'm gonna play it now.
Hey, Janchi guys. I have a question mostly for Patrick. Patrick, you've mentioned a couple times that you're starting to learn Korean. I know you're kind of in the early stages, but I was wondering, do you have any like emotions or like anything about that experience of like just starting to learn Korean that you could like talk about? Maybe not, but just thought that was kind of an interesting thing that you're just starting, and really exciting. Okay. Thanks. Love the show. Bye.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
I like
Woo!
it.
Love
Okay,
it.
wait. Round
I
of
like
applause
it.
for the caller. That was real good. Thank you so much for being our very first caller.
First
Amazing.
call in. Well, I appreciate the question. So I think that my approach to languages is different
Good.
because I think Korean specifically, I am so far removed from it and being able to understand and read it that I don't have that emotional tie. I think that elicits emotions when I'm trying to learn or read it, or even when I come across Hangul like on packaging, and like it doesn't even like that doesn't elicit a specific emotion. But I will say
Besides
that
frustration,
yeah, that I can't read it. That's true. Okay, I will say that there is frustration when it comes to not being able to read it. But I will say that when I took a class, it was like a 3-hour intensive class, and when I was like doing kind of pronunciation and like sounding out vowels and consonants, even I was, according to my teacher, doing it very well, getting a lot of them on like the first go. And I will say that it felt good and that it almost felt kind of natural when I was trying, when I like had the direction and was told like this is what it's supposed to be. Like when I was saying it, like made sense in my mouth and my brain at the same time.
It made sense in my mouth.
No, okay. I
That's
actually thought about you because this was part of You Sound Like a White Girl, right? Was like Yulisa Arce was talking about like how like she was being forced to not speak Spanish. Like this is the language of my DNA. And the way that she said that, I was like, oh my gosh. Cause I know that I think we've talked about it maybe off air, maybe on air, about like you practicing Korean and
Right.
kind of like beginning to get, especially like the Hangul framework and all that stuff, which I think is like a major turning point for learning Korean, right? Is like once you can get the language, the written language down, then some things kind of fall into place on pronunciation. And Sarah actually always says to me, like, whenever you speak Korean, your mouth just looks right. Like it looks, at this point I'm putting words in her mouth, but like for me, it kind of sounds like it looks like Korean belongs in your mouth. You know what I mean? And but I know that about myself too. Like if I even saying something simple, 안녕하세요, 감사합니다, whatever,
Right.
like those things feel natural. I feel like my mouth is meant to move that way. Like my tongue is meant to move that way. Whereas like when I speak Spanish, even though like I understand and speak Spanish better, I'm like, I got to warm up. And even then like my tongue, it just like, it has to like do a bunch of things and I'm never going to get it quite right. You know what I mean? Like, but like Korean, I'm just like, this feels right to me. I don't know.
Do you ever do it in front of the mirror to make, I mean, how do you know like what you look like when you say it?
Oh, I just take Sarah at her word.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you actually
I know how it feels for me where it just
Okay.
like makes sense. But even like, I don't know, like I feel my face change to like now that I'm like watching more, like intentionally watching more K dramas and those kinds of things. Like I feel my face change and like my mouth shapes change to kind of mirror not just their like, I guess their mouth, but like their whole like kind of demeanor and the whole like attitude of speaking Korean, which we actually talked about with Minju when she was on the show. Is like because of like the honorifics and things, like you just kind of know your place with Korean. And but there is kind of this whole rhythm of like, yeah, this is how once you kind of like can actually form sentences and things. So
No, I
yeah.
was just curious if that was actually a method to look in the mirror to see how
I
you're
mean, maybe
pronouncing
it's not
things.
for
I don't
me,
know.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think go ahead.
No, I was gonna say just to add to your thing, my not that she specifically asked you, but my emotion coming from Hangul when I tried to learn a little bit of Korean, for me the emotion comes is actually lately has been guilt because I feel like I need to know more of it to speak to my biological family, and I feel
True.
guilty not learning it in a way to talk to them, even though there's translation apps that are 85% correct, maybe 60% correct. But so I feel a little bit of guilt when I took it and then stopped taking it. So that's something that I've kind of been battling with, and I would like to, and who knows, maybe pick it back up when as things move along and time pushes me to the point where I have some free time to do it. But
I definitely get the guilt factor because I think I feel that too. Just anytime I'm around any like Korean immigrants or second generation Koreans or people who can speak fluently in Korean, obviously, and I cannot. And it's just it's like I guess specifically like with the woman who cuts my hair, with the Ajumma who cuts my hair, it is kind of like that. I feel like I only have the two words like "안녕하세요" and "감사합니다," and it's like I've not evolved past that yet. And I think there's just I feel that little level of guilt when I say something and she's like thanks, and it's just like it's like almost like she wants more maybe, even though that's me projecting onto her. In truth, I want to be able to give her more conversation that's genuine, because honestly, where she's posted up, I don't know that she speaks to anybody else in Korean, you know, and like I don't know, and it's not like obviously my job to learn it for this one person's sake, but I totally understand like that guilt feeling, or that feeling of guilt from just like having started but not throwing my full weight behind it. And I think that's always been my hesitation, is that I've always struggled learning language, I think, or learning another language. And it's every time I get going, I like step away. And I think my biggest thing is I never wanted to jump into Korean, because it's like, if I'm going to do it, I want to sit and like do it for like 3 months straight and then just know it and learn it. And I realize it's more of like an experience thing, and you just have to continue doing it as opposed to trying to just force it in. But it's like, I don't know. Yeah, that's just kind of like why I've always been hesitant, because it's like I don't feel like I'm going to give it enough time, and then that's where the guilt comes from as well.
I get that.
What about you, KJ? Do you have any emotions?
Yeah,
noted robot KJ Relke. Do you have any emotions?
You know, it's interesting. My feelings around Korean have changed, actually. I don't remember if we talked about when I went to that like dinner and conversation thing for like 1 year after the Atlanta shooting. I don't remember if we talked about that on air.
Was it the lawyers?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So okay. So while I was there, there were some ajumas there who all spoke fluent Korean, but I hung out. I found like the two young Korean Americans who were second gen, and we got to talking, and I was like, "Yeah, do you all speak Korean?" And they're like, "No, not really." You know, whatever. But then they would also try to like tell their like Vietnamese friend. I think he was Vietnamese. Vietnamese friend who's like, "Oh yeah, hey, if you call the server Nuna instead of Ajuma, and they'll give you extra goodies, or you know, whatever." You know, like if you like suck up to them a little bit, they'll really take care of you. And then one of the other people there, she was like, "Oh yeah, if you talk about like whatever," and we talked about like, so talked about like certain words to say, like nuna or like what aegyo is or whatever. And I was like, oh, I know all of this from the Korean culture dictionary. And they were like, yeah, so aegyo is like this, like, I don't know. I was like, I know what it is. And then like I was able to translate Korean culture
Nice.
to another Asian American in a way. But then like because I was there with them, and like again watching Pachinko, like there's this whole bit of like now I feel more like second gen kind of, even though even while I'm like I'm struggling and really doing my best to like learn Korean and like be in that culture and like build a bridge basically back to the motherland, but I'm also like more comfortable in my knowing and not knowing. So like today I went to the donut shop right by my apartment and talk about service. Okay. Side note, wait, did both of you freeze?
No.
Okay, great. Okay.
We're just good at sitting very still, no blinking. No blinking.
I'm just very focused on your
Yeah, you're telling a great
your
story.
story. Yeah.
Okay. So here's a side note from this morning. So I went to go get donuts from this donut shop that's operated by Korean ajumas, but recently the person who's been like helping me has changed. It's a different person than before, a different employee. So the one before used to always give me free donut holes, and Sarah and I were like, do you think it's because like she knows you're Korean and like whatever? So like one time she went and she didn't get free donut holes. So yes, it definitely was because of the Korean, because of that dong, like that sense of like, we take care of our people. So this lady, this current ajumma, I had been there a couple of times and she never gave me free donut holes. I went even in like with my Joseon like shirt or like my Joseon like hat, like wearing the Korean flag,
like representing
literally
it hard.
on my body. Yeah. No donut holes. I was like, what the heck? So this morning I went in and I was just feeling really tired. And I was like, okay, I know how to say I'm tired and like whatever regular Korean, but now I got to like formalize it up because like we're not that friendly, it's a transaction, whatever. So 피곤합니다 is how you say I'm tired, right? So she's like, oh yeah, I come in like, hi, how are you? I'm good. And she's like, you tired? And I said, 네, 피곤합니다. And she's like, oh yeah. And like, you're Korean, right? And it's like, yeah, free donut holes. What? Boom.
Nice.
That's what it is. That's what it is. But I was like, so I said 피곤합니다, got the free donut holes, said 감사합니다, and she's like, oh, 네, 감사합니다. And then she said a bunch of other Korean things. I'm like, I don't know.
Thank you.
But like,
yeah, just keep saying thank you at that point.
I was just like, I don't know. I was like, do I bow? Do I leave? I'm just like, okay, bye. I didn't even say goodbye in Korean. Like, I know how to say that.
Right.
She's actually probably yelling at you, like, are you going to pay for the donut holes?
No, it's like one of those things where like, okay, bye. Like, thank you. Have a good day. Thank you for your patronage. Goodbye. Thank you. But I was like, I don't know. If someone can tell me what people yell when you're leaving their establishment, that would be great, just so I can know. Like,
that is one that I also want to know.
감사합니다 a bunch. Like, I don't know, but I was like, oh man, I'm out of my depth. But then, well, like, so before I would have been in your camp, Patrick, where I'd be like, oh man, I feel so bad that I don't know what you're saying, but I just know like a couple of these phrases, whatever. But now, having been around Korean Americans who are like more than just immigrants, more than just first or second gen, whatever, I'm like, okay, no, it's actually like, she probably just thinks that I'm just some second or third gen Korean American.
Right.
Like, I know enough, but like whatever. But then there's the extra level from Pachinko of like the harmonies, the grandmothers who live in Japan, who speak Japanese, and their like grandkids speak Japanese and only know like a little bit of Korean because maybe like their grandmothers or grandfathers taught them, right? And so there's like this whole other thing of like, we live in this foreign land, but like you don't speak our language, and how tragic and how sad that is and whatever. And so again, coming back to your point, Patrick, of like, I wish I could give you more, is like, I know that you're living in this foreign land and I don't know what brought you here, and I know that you probably have community, but like I still wish that I could give you more sense of our homeland and more sense of the shared thing. But at the same time, and this is where the change really has been, I'm okay with what I can give you right now. And I don't feel guilty. I'm okay giving you a little bit, and I don't feel guilty about not being able to give you more, because what I'm giving you actually is the best that I can give you right now. And I'm going to work to be able to give people more in the future, but I'm not going to feel sorry about like the little that I can give, because I'm giving my whole self, So that's the change for me, and that's like literally just something that I won a win, I guess, for today.
That's great.
That's a great win.
You ate those donut holes.
I got those free donut holes, baby.
Gosh, free donut holes.
Now I need to go find a Korean
sweet
donut
thing.
shop now. Dang.
That is a sweet.
break out
That
some
is a
thank
sweet
yous.
thing to get. Is free donut holes. I'm getting. Yeah, I'm
Getting hungry.
Maybe you can get some
For
cheaper
donuts.
cheaper haircuts.
Yeah.
This haircut is already cheap,
Oh, okay.
so I would feel bad if she charged me less for this haircut. So,
Yeah. I mean, I always make sure I tip extra because
100%.
it all evens out.
You have to.
You know, you're
of
like,
course.
I mean, that's just an industry thing.
No,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, it is, but also like even
No, I know.
more. I'm like, I gotta.
jung.
If you're gonna give me
Tip
that
my
jung,
people.
I gotta give you that
Yeah,
jung.
Exactly.
You know? So in my own American way, because in Korea they don't tip. But
Yeah.
True.
whatever.
Well, that's just
Speaking of
how we're
donut
crossing
holes,
cultures.
You guys
Yeah.
want to do a food today?
Let's do a food.
Let's do a food interview. Oh wait, no.
Okay. Wait. Hold on.
Welcome
Hold on.
back
Wait,
to the
wait.
Janchi.
Here's the.
Wait.
Here's the
Wait,
music
Adelphia.
drop. Here we go.
All right, I got it. Oh, sorry. I did it again.
What'd you do? What?
Talked over it the whole time.
You're talking over the transition.
Okay. Well, now it doesn't even matter. All right.
Oh, leave that one in. Leave it in.
Just
Leave it
roll
in.
it in again.
Whatever. It's fine. No.
Dun, dun,
It's
dun,
fine.
dun. Fine. We are back. We are here with the food portion of the show, or as we previously called it, the eating fun snack tasting spot. We are eating more pororro today. Pororro.
Safe for the whole family.
The cute little penguin with his glasses and his helmet and his friends Krong and Poby and
Oh, we didn't say this before, but caller, thank you for leaving us a voicemail. That was a really wonderful discussion, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Mhm.
So yeah,
We had
give
a
you
great
the number.
discussion about that.
If you want to call in and ask us a question that you think will lead to good discussion, that number Patrick has, and it is 972.
677. Oh, I thought Nathan was going to say the last part. 8867.
Ah, dang.
Oh,
All I
have
know
no
is it
clue.
starts with 972.
8867. Got it. Well, I will call in again. And leave my little funny
Oh, yeah,
voicemail.
that's right. Yeah,
I left
forgot.
I had left one voicemail just for you guys.
I'm gonna have
hear.
to.
But
I'm gonna have to-
yeah, we are eating a pororro snack, mini cube snack to be exact. Yeah, I don't know much about this. I just know that we're getting a lot of pororro snacks because they all look pretty tasty, and they're probably for kids. And I'm a kid at heart.
Yeah.
And Patrick is looking up how to pronounce the hangul at the bottom of this.
Yeah.
I have no clue. I just know the first letter is a placeholder.
No,
I think I'm.
that one is a mian.
Oh, dang it. I thought if the O is...
Here,
is
I'll
at the
spell it
beginning.
for the listeners at home. I'll spell it. Miam, nian, kiok, yu, biop, shiot, nian, kiok. And in Korean, that spells
Snack.
Wait, what?
I don't know.
Snack.
that
Yeah.
spells.
I know it's like mini kyobyu. I'm messing it
You're
up.
so close.
I'm not getting it.
Snaku?
Snick.
Sinik. Oh wait, it's
Sinik?
a sinik.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was right there. Dang it.
Yeah. So
Close.
fully, that is mini cube snick.
Mini Cuba sneak.
Okay.
Yep. So it's just Konglish, and like I said in a previous episode, snick is my favorite Konglish. It's just really fun to hit for some reason. I don't know why. So whenever I find the snick aisle, I'm like, "Sejongah, snick."
I
Yeah.
love snicks.
I love snacks.
I love snicks. Ooh. They look like giant
Well, it's weird because
croutons.
isn't that last letter, that consonant, a G
Oh,
technically?
Yes, but
Snick-
when it's
sneak-
at the very end, it's more just like
It's
a
more
way
of a
to
k.
close. It's like how you close your mouth.
Nick.
Snick. Because
Snick.
there's not actually when it's
Oh,
not
there's like a
followed up by a vowel,
snick.
there's no like exhale per se. So it's just
Oh,
snick.
Snick. Keep
'Cause,
doing
like,
it. That was the
that's
problem
why-
that I had on my
Snickety
left.
That's why like so cube, that kiok you and then
Cube.
biup like if the biup was
Cube.
beneath the q, it would just be cube. But like if by
Mm.
putting the then you say cube.
Cuba.
So there's a little exhale. So like if you
Snick.
put kiok with the it would be snick, but it's not that. So it's just snick.
Snick.
Yeah. And that was your hungle for the day.
This is a great follow-up to our caller call-in, too. So.
Hungle! So, yeah. All right. This was a pain to open, and I didn't see an open
It was a
here.
pain for me to.
I opened it, and I got crumbs everywhere on my
You gotta
Crumbs
open it
your
like
pants.
this.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what?
I opened it like that, too, but I still got crumbs.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, I got a lot of
you-
crumbs in here.
No,
And
it's
I got a
worth
lot
it
of
for me
crumbs
to
down on the
say.
bottom.
But I like the little tray that it comes in.
I do too. I didn't know
feels
what I was
necessary.
expecting out of this.
Yeah. They
What a-
look like little croutons, but then they're like have cracks in it.
Oh!
Like, I don't know. But they look
God,
tasty.
this is amazing.
They are?
Are you serious? All right.
I'm not even kidding.
Diving in.
Oh.
Mmm.
It's like a little crunchy croissant.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That is
it's
like
got-
a croissant.
It is
That is a good
laminated
It's like a
AF.
caramel crunchy croissant.
Get in there.
And
Oh, Sarah just appears
what
in the
good
background.
timing that Sarah arrives.
You heard him. Oh!
Mashisayo.
Huzzah!
Mokcha. Let's eat. Mashisayo.
Win. This is a win.
Nomu mashisayo.
Wow. So some of the ingredients in this: wheat, margarine, sugar, apricot jam. That's one that I did not expect. And then just the regular other things: vanilla flavor, skim milk, cornstarch. But yeah,
I'll say
that
right off the
apricot
bat,
jam.
the cube on the cover of this packaging is very, very representative of
Mhm.
the actual cube itself.
The cube.
The cube.
Put the cube inside of my chest.
What do you mean, Optimus?
Optimus, I don't want you to die. We must do it, Sam.
The fate of the Autobots depends on you.
You guys are such nerds.
Okay. We're not nerdists on the show, Nathan.
That's
Yeah,
funny though.
we're
because
not
a nerd
nerdists. That's a
calling other
completely different
a nerd
podcast
calling
and
other
media
nerds
company.
nerds is just it's redundant. So or contradictory. I don't know. The kettle calling the pot black. These are pretty tasty. Good job, Pororro.
Mm,
So you make a mighty fine mini cube snack.
I can't get
A
over how
mighty
good the
fine mini
lamination
cube
is.
snack.
I've never had like
Mini cube.
lamination like
So
this.
yeah, there's a
Snake-
lot of them. I would say that I got about 20 in here. I'm
That was some
thinking.
fast counting.
Yeah, well, I was estimating because I counted
He's
6
Rain Man.
and then 18, maybe 18. But
I got a 6 and 18.
I don't know. I don't even
I
remember how
added
many I've
2.
eaten already.
Nathan's
so-
favorite game is guess how many Skittles are in the jar.
I do. I
and
love
you
that
win the
game.
whole jar.
Have you ever won that game?
Nathan is like, okay, so if we take the
I've
volume
come
of
close.
the
Yeah.
jar and then carry the 3 and then
I have come
Nathan,
close,
would
for
you
sure.
retire from everything if you just nailed the exact amount of Skittles in the jar? Would you be like, I'm done?
I'd be done. I'm done. That's it. That's like
Allison,
winning
you
the
got the
lottery.
kids. Business, don't care. Shuttered. I
Yeah.
just won my life.
I'm gonna live off of Skittles.
Oh, you don't get paid.
Oh yeah, right.
You don't get any money.
You're right. Good point. But yeah, you can actually see like this like crusty, sugary top to it. I don't know,
Mhm.
like, and then it does. It tastes like a little croissant.
Yeah. Just a little, yeah. But like
Mhm.
with a little bit of the honey butter chip,
Yeah,
like that
Ooh.
honey butter sweetness,
These
sweet
are
and
really good.
savoriness.
Yeah, this is amazing. Like I said, I've never had a snack that has like layers like this, but like any laminated gluten-y thing is amazing to me. So
laminated. I've
Yeah.
never
I
thought
only-
of my snacks as laminated before.
Yeah, I don't
I
know
only
if
know
I
it-
laminate.
I only know the term from British baking show. So if we say if we
Oh,
call it
okay.
differently in America, then let me know. But
Okay. Glazed.
no. Croissants. Oh crap! It's the Mediterranean snack phyllo dough.
Baklava?
Yeah, that's laminated. Like all those things that have like those tiny layers in it.
Mhm.
That's lamination. It's like butter, flour.
Oh, then like a
Mm.
biscuit
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, freaking yeah.
where you
Um,
fold it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this being laminate, like having those layers, and like that's my favorite. And so having this on the go is incredible. Skipping ahead to ratings now, unless you have anything else to say.
No, I do
No.
have something.
Great.
I have one thing.
Oh,
A potentially controversial take. I think that I want this top part to be made out of chocolate.
wow.
Damn! You were quick with that. You knew whatever
He
I
was
said was
ready.
going to be bad. And he was like, I'm going to cue that up. I swear. I think I don't. This is good on its own. A great snack. But what if this was chocolate? What if?
It wouldn't keep as well. That's like a gourmet version. you know?
Okay. I see. Nathan's with me. He said 5 out of 5. I'd eat
I'd
it.
eat it. I'd eat it too. Yeah.
Wow.
Why don't you just go put some chocolate sauce on it?
I knew it would be controversial.
Just drop
I'm a
some
chocolate guy.
Drop some magic shell on it.
How about this? Why don't you go crumble a couple of these up and put a scoop of ice cream on top?
I don't have any ice cream, Nathan.
Oh
Bro,
my
You
god.
just got to go get some.
Oh
Froyo.
my god.
God, that's
My
blasphemous.
God.
You should
Oh
always have ice
my
cream in your
God.
freezer. I have 6 different kinds.
Okay, sir.
Oh wow. They'll
Can
probably
you
all
tell
say
he grew up
new
near
on them.
Brahms?
Yeah. You think?
Brahms boys, baby.
I will get to go to Brahms here in at the end of May. Woohoo! Yeah. So ratings, KJ, you're obviously
Easy 5 out of 5. Honestly,
a fan.
I'm
Anything
giving it 6 out
laminated
of 5.
is a 5.
I'm
out of
breaking the rating system. These
6
are so
out of
good.
5.
6 out of 5.
Yeah,
His
so-
favorite snack on the show so far.
yeah. So this is, I mean, this is incredible. Pororro, take your bow because these are wow. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. They're real good.
Dang. That's
Oh, it's looping. We don't need you to loop. Go away.
it's
Yeah,
that good. It's
they
so good
loved
it
your
had to
take
clap
so
twice.
much. They
They got
loved your
multiple standing ovations tonight.
love it.
Wow.
Nathan,
Patrick.
Nathan,
Patrick.
Nathan.
Patrick. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 too. What am I saying? What was that
That just wasn't fast enough.
funny?
It's
No,
fine.
I think
Oh, that's fine.
I think it's great. Look at that. I got a little X on it too.
X marks the spot, and the spot is a great snack.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a 5 too.
You don't have to give it a 5.
Nope, I'm
don't
giving
want
it
to sway
Oh,
your,
God.
give it the-
taste buds.
Sir, this is a
You-
podcast.
you
That
said
is
you wanted
disgusting.
This
chocolate.
is a respectable professional podcast, and I've
How
just
dare
burped all
you.
over it. No, I think it is a 5 out of 5 snack. I think what would push it higher to that 6 out of 5 range that KJ has entered into
Chocolate.
would be a potentially different flavor or some flavored versions of this.
This has
Because I think this is the
apricot jam,
regular
sir.
version.
That is a flavor. Apricot
I think you
and
could
vanilla.
add chocolate to this. 10 out of 5.
Mm.
2 over 1.
You just-
Touchdown.
Okay.
10 out of 5.
Well, who is this even made by?
It's made
It
by
doesn't say.
Pororro. They're
It's just Pororro. Right?
The Pororro
No, it's got to be
team.
packaged by somebody here. I do not. Oh, manufacturers SPC Sam Lipco.
all
That's
right.
all I see is the manufacturer. So, well, send a message, maybe official Pororro. Send it by bird. But yes, these are pretty tasty.
What?
I like it. That's a
There's a
good.
little. Sorry, there's a little
antiquated
bird.
system.
I mentioned that because there's a little bird on the front of the package, and he's like, it looks like he's like bringing one in, like he's holding it and he's coming in with it.
It does kind of look like he's carrying that gigantic package or this
Right.
gigantic cube flying in with it.
So he's.
That's why both of his
delivering
eyes are
some
closed
mini
because he is
cubes.
struggling.
Wow.
Yep. So yeah, well, that rounds out this snack. There's there you go, guys. Best
Pororro
snack
mini
so far.
cube snack.
Mini
Mhm.
cube.
Nick.
Nick.
Rush out to your local store.
So good. Okay.
Was so
Okay, we're
good.
just gonna
This
sit here and
was
eat
a
the
good
rest of the
episode.
package. So you guys just hang
This
out.
was a good episode. I'll give that a 5 out of 5. Haven't not even listened back to it yet.
Joke's on you. I'm not going to release this ever.
Ever.
Okay, well,
I'm
I
just gonna
guess we're taking
beep
a break
out.
next week.
I'm actually going to mix in other takes of you talking, so you just sound like you're not even talking as a part of this episode.
Oh, so I'm not even in the episode.
Yeah.
You've
Are we
mixed
still
me
giving
out
5
of
out
it.
of 5 then?
Oh, dang.
Yeah, probably.
Wow. Well, on
All
that
right,
note, you guys can find us on all the social media platforms at Janchi Show. Email us, JanchiShow at justlikemedia.com. Go
Call
to our
my phone
website,
number.
janchi.com, janchishow.com.
JohnG.com.
Janchi. I don't know
we
what
should get that.
janchi.com is.
I'm going to
but
find out.
We'll find out. JanchiShow.com. And yes, you can buy some merch, support us, and say hello. And we've already given you our phone number. Send us your love.
And
Or
your
go have this
questions,
snack and tell us if you think
voicemails.
it's a 5 out of 5.
The domain name JohnG.com is for sale.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh,
Boom.
there we go.
Boom.
So yeah,
Get on that, Jerry.
Send us your email or your question or however you want to. That phone number one more time is 972
677 8867.
We did it.
We did it.
You can find me at KJ Relke wherever I want to be found on the internet.
You can find me at Patrick in the World on Instagram.
And at Stuffing My Face on Twitter.
Stuffing Face. You can, as he snorts them out. You can find me at Nowak on Instagram.
Great. And that is all for this week.
That's
so
it for this
until
week.
next week, Janchi Heyo!
Bye.
Wait, Janchi?
Laters.
Hey, heyo, heyo, heyo. I don't know. I don't like when I'm out of tune. Whatever. Bye.
Are we actually leaving or?